Hello everyone, my name is Victor Sapiain. This is my AWS project walkthrough. This project solves a common problem faced by banks, which are fragmented on-prem systems, no real-time data access, and challenges meeting compliance requirements. I will walk you through how I built a secure, scalable, and modular AWS architecture to solve those problems. So the main software I used in this project was AWS. So I started by creating a custom VPC with both public and private subnets. Public subnets handle Lambda and API gateway. Private subnets are used for RDS and DynamoDB. I set up root tables, an internet gateway, NAT gateway, and strict security groups for this. So my VPC that I use is called Bank VPC. Here it is. The subnets I created 3 specifically, which is public subnet 1 bank, bank private subnet 2, and private subnet 1 bank. For route tables, I created a private route table bank, which is right here, and I also created a public route table bank. So private route table bank and public route table bank. I also created security groups. It is security groups for this final. I created 2 security groups that work with my subnets, which is the private subnet security group bank and public subnet security group bank. These 2 right here are my security groups I created. So for secure authentication, I set up Cognito with the user pool that I created. And that user pool was called user pool LSFSYG. And I also created an identity pool for that user pool, which is bank identity pool. Here it is, my user pool right here. Let me go back to my identity pool. Oops. Now for API gateway and Lambda integration, the API gateway handles endpoints like I'll show you later. I created in my transactions, login, and statements. I use Lambda proxy integration to send requests to a function called process transaction, and I will show you that right now. So Lambda. So here's my function called process transaction. Here it is, process transaction connected to my API gateway. Here are the clusters, the RDS database connections are connected to my function. Here's the code that I use for my function. And let me show you my API gateway. So as I said, it's called Bank API. That's my API gateway. I created resources, which were loans, login, statements, transactions. And for each one, I built methods for get and post. These are method requests for each resource that I added to my API gateway. Here are the 2 different stages, my development stage and my production stage. Here they are. Authorizer, Cognito authorizer that I added to my bank API. And going back to my Lambda. Oh, connected to my Lambda was my step function, that I created for my bank API. It's called bank workflow. Um, it took me a while, but I was able to make it succeed. Here it is. This is the workflow of my step function. Now for RDS and DynamoDB, structured data is stored in an Aurora MySQL database. I used private subnets, enabled encryption using a KMS key, and added a read replica for high availability. I also created a DynamoDB table called customer transactions for fast NoSQL writes. So I will show you that right now. RDS, I created a cluster called BankDB cluster, which is this one right here. Here are the endpoints, monitoring, CloudWatch, login events. There's that. Also, for all of these, I encrypted every process that I encrypted and decrypted. I used a KMS key, and that KMS key is called bank KMS key right here. Bank KMS key. I use that for encryption and decryption. Also for my RDS, I created a replica as well, an instance. Now I'll show you my DynamoDB database. Here's my database called customer transactions. Here it is, customer transactions, auto scaling activities, customer transactions, encryption, which I use my key, which I said earlier was the bank KMS key for encryption and decryption. Let's see, backups. I created backups as well as a point in time recovery, just to make sure it's safe. I also oh yeah, so for my S3, I created an S3 bucket. All documents are stored in an S3 bucket called documents of the bank. I enabled versioning and cross-region replication for disaster recovery, and once again, encryption is enabled with the same KMS key, the bank KMS key. And for security and compliance mapping, to meet PCI, DSS, and GLBA requirements, I use KMS encryption, IAM policies, and CloudTrail logs. All services that handle sensitive data are encrypted at rest. CloudTrail records every action across all regions and stores it in a secured S3 bucket. So CloudTrail bank logs right there. Let me show you my IAM rules. So the main IAM rule that I used for this final was the Lambda exec role bank. I added many different permissions, so it would work with my other processes as well. And my CloudTrail to show you my linked S3 bucket. Here it is. Where is it? Banking audit trail. There it is. That's connected to my S3 bucket. And I also use CloudWatch for monitoring and logging as well. Lambda functions log to CloudWatch automatically. This gives full visibility into operations and allows for quick troubleshooting. So right here in my log group, it's called AWS Lambda Process Transaction. And here is where you'll see all the log streams that are occurring or that have occurred. And this architecture is built for scale. Lambda and DynamoDB scale automatically. I added a read replica to Aurora for read scaling. Disaster recovery is ensured through RDS snapshots, DynamoDB point-in-time recovery, and S3 replication. I have showed you those earlier. And in summary, this AWS architecture gives the bank real-time access to secure data, simplified compliance with PCI DSS and GLBA, resilience through replication and backups, and on-demand scalability and cost efficiency. Thank you for watching. This was a full walkthrough of my cloud native banking solution using AWS. I demonstrated real infrastructure that solves real business challenges. And now I will show you my screenshots that I took for this lab. So my VPC that I created, my subnets I created, internet gateway, routing tables, my NAT gateway I configured, security groups I created, the Lambda execution role, IAM role I created, Cognito roles, KMS key, which is the bank KMS key that I spoke of earlier, Amazon Cognito authentication that I deployed, RDS and Aurora that I established, the S3 buckets that I created, the Lambda function I created, as well as the step function workflow, the API gateway, the CloudWatch, the streams, CloudTrail, DynamoDB autoscale, the replicas, backups, replication and versioning, point-in-time recovery, and that is all. Thank you for watching.